My friend Nick is a pro bike mechanic and bike shop owner with over 20 years of experience. In today's episode, we're going to go through 10 things that he really hates.
Continental gator skins. Supposed to be an urban touring tire, but it's got zero grip in the wet. So if you want to die, keep using them as a winter tire in the UK. I know they are great for puncture resistance, but there's other tires. Braley Cinturato, Vittorio Rubino, Endurance. Those are also really puncture resistant, but they work in the wet and in the cold. If you do get a puncture of the Conti as well on the gator skins, good luck changing your tire. Unstretchy bar tape. Wrapping bars, loads of people say they can't do it. It's not that they can't do it. If you've got the wrong bar tape that doesn't stretch, it's much harder to do. While you're going around the bar, it just won't fold right. So it makes creases and things like that, and you have to keep starting over and over. It just takes ages. And it sounds silly, but it's just a waste of time. Good examples of stretchy bar tapes like lizard skins, but then again, that only lasts a couple of weeks before it wears out. So for me, it's a no-go. I like Triple B. Triple B makes really good tape. It's very stretchy and it just wraps incredibly easy. Unstretchy, Super CADE, some of Data's handlebar tapes, Chinelli. Nice looking tape, but what a nightmare to wrap and not get folds in it. So yeah, it's just, if you're wrapping 10, 15 bars in a day, it's an absolute nightmare. Compact EPS. I mean, cables. I don't like it because all the cables for the electronic gears is connected to the battery. So firstly, if you damage a cable, it's a new battery, £400. Secondly, the plugs at the end of them are too big, and the plugs and the levers, you have to actually dismantle the whole lever to plug the plug in. Shimano still has cables, but at least you can plug them out from both ends. If you damage a cable, 20 quid for a new cable, not the end of the world. Buy SRAM because there's just no cables. Much easier. Don't have to worry about any of these problems. But yeah, they all shift really well, but it's just an absolute nightmare if you have mechanical problems. And I'm saying this as somebody who's been the biggest compact fan ever for about 20 years. Just enough's enough. With electronic group sets, I've switched over to SRAM. Most manufacturers use a standard, well, I say 99% of manufacturers use a system of lower headset bearing, upper headset bearing, expanded bung or a star nut, compress it all together. Your headset works. Yes, I've got different shapes and size bearings, but that's a completely different thing that annoys me. But then you get companies like Specialized with their Future Shock, I think it's called, which is a suspension headset that goes into your bike. Loads of tiny little fiddly bits that you need to work out, 4 different bolts to adjust it. Nightmare. You break it, local bike shop most likely won't have stock of it unless they're a Specialized dealer. And even if they did, you're looking at about £200 to have it fixed. Why? Just stick with what's worked for years and years and years. Another example, Canyon. Canyon's got the 8-cross headset, the actual top cap. You shift it, it's difficult to explain, but yeah, to preload your headset. Wear through one of them, which you will, because they're really, really, really weak bearings. It's going to cost you a fortune to fix. And it hasn't improved anything. Why do it? I love their marketing. They're really nice guys. Their after sales is excellent. But we've had cracked axles where we're ranging them up. They've not asked for any proof. They just send a new axle out, which clearly means they're getting a lot of warranty requests. Just a hassle. A few days of not having your wheels or having to take it to the bike shop repeatedly to get it fixed. Speak to your local bike shop. See what wheels they're selling, because they will be the ones. So if they're selling the wheels, they'll be servicing, looking after them. And trust me, they're not going to sell you something that's going to break non-stop and they keep having to fix to keep you on the road. Cannondale. Once again, lovely looking bikes. They perform really well, but why do they have to make everything awkward? BB30A bottom brackets. Luckily, they've actually switched back to BSA again now, but why? Why for so many years? Offset dishing on the rear wheels. Why? That means if you buy any wheel that's not their wheels, you have to take it to the bike shop and get it redished. Quite a few manufacturers will cancel your warranty immediately when you do that, so just locks you into their wheels. A lefty fork. You get a puncture on the road, or you want to take your wheel off for some reason, you can't, because you have to take the brake caliper off. Just an absolute nightmare to work on. It's just not needed. Everything else works. Alternatives would be any of the other big manufacturers if you wanted that, a Specialized, a Scott, a Trek, but not the rim brake Madone because it's got awkward brakes on it and you just don't want to get in that kind of mess either. New bike frames without tire clearance. Why? Everybody knows now, they've done all the tests, it's all out there. You need bigger tires to make your bike more comfortable, but also faster because you're not getting bounced around. But there's still manufacturers bringing out tire clearance 25mm and barely scraping 28mm. The other problem is, tires don't measure what they say on the sides. You can get a set of Contis on a set type of wheel, it'll measure 28mm tire will measure 31. We had this with Michelin's last week. So it just means your tire's not gonna fit onto the bike. At least nowadays, I don't see why modern frames aren't coming out with at least 32, possibly 35 mil worth of clearance. You don't have to run 35 mil tires on it. You can stick 28 still on, but it just means there's a gap. Mud's not gonna go in, or dirt, and scrape your paint off your brand new bike. Just no. No. If you're gonna be more longer distance rider, casual, a gravel bike. Buy a gravel bike and stick road wheels on it. It'll work perfectly. In terms of road bikes, we do JGM Orient, that can take 35 mil. Sato Seta Plus, which is their probably range topping bike, that takes a 35 mil tire. Time 80HX, 38 mil actually, but it's close, so I would say don't go more than 36. There's quite a few. Just look at the tire clearance before you buy a bike, because if you are slightly heavier than a professional cyclist, you are going to want bigger tires. 28 mil as a standard. 30 mil is what I ride. I would probably push up to 32 mil in the winter for comfort and grip. You get more, yeah, it's just all around much better. Muck Off. That's a cleaning brand. Cycling cleaning products in general, they work okay, but obviously marketing you're paying for. Biggest problem we've got with Muck Off is we've got customers bringing their bikes in, they use the lube and they leave it on for a couple of days or a couple of weeks and it turns into a glue. And it's impossible to get off. We've had it in ultrasonic cleaners using screwdrivers, and it's just, I don't know what it's doing to the drivetrains. Just no. Alternatives, Fenix all conditions lube works really well. You don't have to worry about wet lube or dry lube, what you're using your road bike, your mountain bike, your commuter. You just use it on everything. It works incredibly well, but also really easy to wash off. Other brands out there, Pro Gold, Morgan Blue, they sponsor most of the pro teams out there. Just make really good products. Look into what you're buying. Don't just fall for the marketing. Speedplay. For those who don't know, these lollipop style pedals. Now they advertise a lot of good stuff, longer spindles, Q factors, loads of adjustment, things like that. But that's not generally a good thing. Unless you've got somebody that can tell you what Q factor you should be riding, like a bike fit, and set your pedals up for you, you could just cause yourself way more problems. Nobody needs that much adjustment. Other thing is, get a bit of dirt in the cleat, try and clip in, good luck. Durability, terrible. Cleats, expensive. They go on about how light they are, but they're not that light because they're not weighing the cleats. Personally, if you want float and better on your knees, I like Time, but Shimano makes a good pedal, Look makes a good pedal. There's quite a few brands out there. That shouldn't be what you're going for. I've had a few people tell me as well, makes the bike feel lighter. I was like, yeah, but you're not riding the bike without being clipped in without cleats on, so it's not actually lighter. Front mechs and gear cables. Now don't get me wrong, they had their place on bikes back in the day. But if you buy any modern group set or a new bike, why? Gear cables just corrode, they stretch, the housing gets damaged, the end caps move in. You buy your bike, it's all set up, gears are set, you leave, 6 weeks later, your bike needs to go back to a bike shop to have all the cables tightened. You leave it outside in the rain, it corrodes, it doesn't shift, it just causes you problems. And front mechs. Now with modern 12-speed group sets, you just don't need it. Unless you're a professional cyclist that's gonna be riding at 70 kilometers, which I think is 40 miles an hour, at the end of a race for 10 kilometers, you just don't need that gearing. Dyno descent, just duck in. Front mechs just go wrong. Shimano keeps going on about how much the group set shifts faster. It's just the front mech, it's not the rear mech. It's the front mech that shifts faster. Chain drop, all these issues. It's just not a thing anymore. One buy, no cables. Your life will just be so much easier.
Outrageous. Did you actually just describe front mechs as back in the day?
Back in the day.
What world do you live in?
Nick, that's absolutely ridiculous. You can't not like front mechs. Let us know if you agree with Nick in the comment section down below. Subscribe for more videos like this, and thank you for watching.